And a special thank you to all of you, ladies and gentlemen, that have came out this morning. This is a very important time in our life and at the life of the region here. And over the years that we have always worked together with partnerships. But I want to talk a little bit about that. But I'm really happy to, on behalf of the Regional Council, it's an honor to welcome you to this event at the regional headquarters today. I'm proud to host this media launch because I support the initiative such as one that moves our progress forward and shares our areas and our concerns. This includes the economy. Can you hear me okay? Okay. This includes the economy, transit, congestion, gridlock, and the neighborhood and the city growth. Before we get started, I want to acknowledge some special guests here today. Our four mayors co-chair for the Western GTA Summit. And I know that the mayor from Burlington, or from Oakville is not here yet. I thought they were here, but they're not here yet. But hopefully they will be able to get here. So I'd also like to introduce, for some of you that have never met, Mayor Fennell, Mayor McCallion, and Mayor Morrison. And I'd also like to add to them the additional councillors that have made efforts to come out this morning, which is Councillor Crombie, Councillor Foley, Councillor Tovey, Councillor Thompson, Councillor Haynes, Councillor Starr, Councillor Moore, and Councillor Sanderson. And I also have our senior staff here, and maybe I could just ask them to wave their hands. David right here, our CAO. Some of them over there, our Commissioner of Public Works, Kent Gillespie, Commissioner of Corporate Services, Janet Bernard is here, Jeanette Smith is also here. I think that's them all. So I thank all of them for being here this morning. Okay, before I turn the mic back to Brian for more about the Western GTA Summit, I want to tell you a few things that you may not know about the Region of Peel. We are the second largest municipality in Ontario with a population of more than 1.3 million people. We projected that the growth for the next few years is going to be about an average of 17,000 a year. But I'm also going to tell you that over the past year, since 1974, our growth has been the average of 27,000 people. And we are looking forward to the forecast that the province has given us for 2041 to almost meet 2 million people. Throughout our history, the region and our area municipality, their staff and our staff, have always faced the increased pressure of addressing the services and the need and the expectation and the needs of our communities. And the results is always because of the slowing economy growth, the changing dynamics, and the social needs. We all experience these pressures in terms of social assistance, and the housing, the transportation, and how we are going to accommodate the rapid growth. To help us plan for the future, last spring, Regional Council adopted the Peel's Goods Movement Strategic Plan. The plan was the results of hard work, the movement of goods across this region, and we were very fortunate that we had a task force that was made up from the private sector, the public sector, who are working together to address our challenges. The Region of Peel has also a long-range transportation plan to address the challenges it expects to face over the next several decades. This includes an increase to congestion on our roads because of our high population growth, sustainable planning, and protecting our environment to assure a livable future. And because transportation link today is also, we take into account the quality of health, the quality of life, the social equivalent, and the environment in our road needs. Improvements are not solely an answer to our congestion roads. Instead, the region is promoting transportation, carpooling, cycling, walking through our active transportation plan. In support of our economy, we are also trying to ensure that 88,000 small and large business in Peel community will have access to the efficient transportation routes to maximize the environment and the community impact. This means that we need to make our transportation system safe, convenient to everyone to use. Unlimited, we are trying to make a shift in the milestone for all of the automobile drivers' lifestyle to a more sustainable way of living. In a municipality as big as ours, it is also important that we plan on how people will get around. So unique community requires unique solutions. And that brings me to the 2013 Western GTA Summit. The summit aligns with what Council and the Region of Peel are striving to achieve: investment in the health and in the well-being of our citizens. And at a time when government is being asked to do more with less, partnerships like the Western GTA Summit are important forums to help us ensure that our communities thrive while we spend tax dollars wisely. So congratulations to the 4 honorable chairs and the chair of the Western GTA Summit. I am very much looking forward to the summit on May the 21st for discussion. To talk a little more about the event, I want to turn back over to the driving force behind the initiatives, Brian Crombie. So I thank you very much for being here this morning, and I hope that you will enjoy what he has to say, and I hope that you will participate on May the 21st. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chairman Cole. Chairman Cole has been an active participant in our past summits and a big supporter of our summits, and so thank you very much for that. Before we turn to the mayors, which is the reason why you're all here, I'd like to give you a quick overview of why we're doing the summit. I've had the privilege since 2007 of chairing the Mississauga Summit along with Shelley White, the CEO of Peel United Way, and with our honorary chair, Mayor McCallion. About a year ago, we started talking about what's next, and we came to the conclusion that what we should be thinking about next is a wider summit, a Western GTA Summit, and inviting to the table Brampton, Oakville, and Caledon, such that we have an opportunity to bring the whole Western GTA together, which with the 1.3 that Chairman Cole mentioned and Oakville together, we actually are almost 1.5 million people, which if you added it together in one municipality would be the 3rd largest city in Canada, such that by coming together and addressing numerous different issues together, we would ensure that we have a voice within the discussions, the important discussions that are taking place in the Greater Toronto Area and in Ontario today. We want to do this in 3 streams. So transit is unquestionably critically important, but we are of the opinion within our Summit Steering Committee that we have to address that in 3 streams. And the first question is, what type of a city, what type of a municipality do we want to live in? And then once we answer that question, we're better able to answer the question, well then how are we going to move around within that city? And then finally, and very importantly, we want to also address the question of how we're going to thrive within that city. Because the type of city that we're going to live in and the transit that we have within that city and the transportation that we have within that city unquestionably impact the ability for us to thrive. Unemployment and poverty are major issues, and our ability to move and our ability to thrive are all interlinked within the discussion. So we will address this with keynote speakers on each one of these topics, and panels on each one of these topics, and then roundtable discussions and town halls on each one of these topics. To give you a sense of some of the questions that we're going to be asking the panelists to address and some of the issues that we want the roundtables to discuss is issues about what type of a city do we want to live in. What is the role of increased density around downtown areas in Brampton and Oakville and Mississauga? What about increased density if we want it around transit hubs, major arterial roads? And as we do that, do we change the historic nature of our neighborhoods in a good way or a bad way? And how do we agree with that? And then finally, and most importantly, what changes in urban design from a standpoint of parks and roads? At one of our last summits, Lisa Rochon from the Globe and Mail came and said, you know, the planners are interesting to listen to, but what you should think about is if you were a 12-year-old boy or girl, And what does a 12-year-old boy or girl want? They want to be bike distance to a park, to a school, to a library, to an arena, to a GO train station so they can get downtown when they want it. So, that's the kind of feedback that we want to bring to the table for our politicians to hear and for all of our residents to hear. From a move standpoint, very clearly we want to talk about why we should be considering increased transit. Congestion has been one of the issues that people have been talking about around the Greater Toronto Area, but connectivity, economic development, and jobs are also some of the compelling imperatives that we should be thinking about. And as we've been going around doing a lot of talks about this, we think that the what is also important. People don't understand the big move as well as they could, particularly how the big move impacts us here in Mississauga and Brampton and Oakville. All-day GO, the Hurontario LRT, bus rapid transit, etc. And then, unquestionably, we'll get to the how we're going to pay for it. And then on the Thrive, as I mentioned, we really want to talk about increased unemployment and poverty and how we create the long-term, sustainable, high-wage jobs of the future, and does transit and transportation and the type of city we want to live in play, because we think all these three issues are interconnected. The speakers include, hopefully, the Premier of Ontario. She's told us that there may be some issues downtown that might influence the time that she could arrive. All four of the mayors will be participating during the day at the roundtables, as well as convening a mayor's panel at the end, which is going to be titled, "So You've Heard Us, What's Next?" And we really want to have the mayors respond back on what's next. The Minister of Transportation is going to lead off our move section. We're going to have both the CEO of Metrolinx, Bruce McQuaig, as well as the CEO from the airport. And the airport obviously is one of the critical parts of the region of Peel and the Western GTA. Joe Barrage from Urban Strategies, who came to our very first summit and I think made that preeminent comment that people quoted back over and over again: the biggest game changer for Mississauga and Brampton would be all-day, two-way, frequent GO train service on all three lines. Jennifer Keesmaat from the City of Toronto, who's actually done a fair amount of work in Mississauga and Brampton. Ken Greenberg, senior staff from the region of Peel, from the City of Mississauga, from the City of Brampton, and from the towns of Caledon and Oakville. So I think the day is going to be an incredible opportunity to listen to some of the experts that we have. But then, very importantly, we're going to have these roundtable discussions, because what we want to do is we want to hear back from the citizens. And so we're going to spend just as much time talking amongst ourselves and in a town hall as we will in listening to some of the experts. And then, as I said, we're going to finalize with a mayor's panel, and then finally a networking reception that's going to be a lot of fun, where people from across the Western GTA get to mingle, network, and meet each other. What we want to have come out of this is unquestionably a common voice, a common point of view. There will be some disagreement, and there will be some people that have different points of view, and if we didn't have that, it wouldn't be a true town and a true city. So we want the different points of view brought. This will be a summit where everyone is welcome, from all different political parties, all different regions, all different sectors of society, business, government, not-for-profit, labor, etc. And each one of those different sectors are some of our presenting partners. We want to have an influence on the transit and transportation agenda within the whole Greater Toronto Area, and I'm convinced that our mayors, particularly now, but particularly after this day, will end up having that kind of a voice. And we want to engage the residents of the Western GTA in what some people have said is the most important decision that faces us in this generation. So this is where you can find us. Miss Summit, we've kept our old Twitter handle so people can continue to follow us, but also WesternGTASummit.ca is our website. So we'd like to encourage all of you to come out to the Western GTA Summit on May 21st. It's going to go from 1 o'clock till 9 o'clock. I think it's going to be a spectacular day. Now what I'd like to do is turn to each one of the mayors and ask them to address you, and then we'll have questions at the end. And so I think Mayor Fennell is going to be... Mayor McCallion first. Mayor McCallion, would you like to come up to the podium and address us, please?
Yeah, thank you very much, Brian. And I just want to say to everybody...
do you want to come here?
Oh, they want me to go there. Thank you, Brian. And I can assure you that the summit has been a great asset to the city of Mississauga. You will recall that the Toronto held a summit. Held a couple of summits, and I believe that it has made a major contribution to the city of Toronto. Civic Action is one of the results of the, and they addressed many, many issues, and they set up task forces as our summit set up in Mississauga. And Brian and I were at one of them, and at the I think we were at the last summit that was held in Toronto. And I said, Brian, how about a summit in Mississauga? And he took off with it. Got Shelley White involved, and that's what happened. And it's been a major contribution to Mississauga. They set up task forces that dealt with our strategic plan. They helped us with that, and dealt with the waterfront and so many. And those involvement. But what is important about it, they involve the citizens. It's not a political organization. In fact, I'm honorary chair, and I try to attend meetings if I can. One of my councillors, Councillor Fonseca, now is attending the summit meetings in Mississauga. I want to assure the two mayors, I want to assure Emil, that the summit is a great asset to a municipality, and we have benefited greatly from it. And when they approached me as honorary chair to say it should be expanded to other municipalities west of Toronto, I felt that was excellent, because I think all municipalities should have the opportunity to bring the people together as this summit has done in Mississauga. Corporations as well as ordinary citizens. So I only say to you, it's a great asset to a municipality. And now spreading it to the western GTA is great. I think Burlington should be involved, really, and Milton. So I think you have to, if we're going to talk about a western GTA, then we have to, don't go to Hamilton, stay away. I've never figured out how Hamilton ever got into the GTA, but they did. And the mayor knows that. Anyway, this summit will be a great advantage, and I encourage all those from the other two municipalities, 3 municipalities that are involved, to get your citizens there. It's very important. It's not just a bunch of politicians sitting around a table talking and talking, as we do so well, with a little action, but it's when you get the citizens and the corporations involved that you do get actions. And the summit in Mississauga was extremely well supported by the corporations. So it's up to the 2 mayors, the 3 mayors, to get your corporations contributing, involved and contributing. Not just involved, but contributing. Because our corporations have contributed, helped fund the summit, etc. So that's a challenge. Now I want to deal with the Metrolinx plan and the transit. Because I'll tell you, I was on Metrolinx when we started this. Unfortunately, Metrolinx was delayed in being formed by the City of Toronto, because they wanted the majority vote at Metrolinx. And finally, the Premier had the backbone to go ahead with it and to tell them they would not have the majority vote at Metrolinx. Well, I was on it for 2 years, and quite honestly, the Premier approached me, called me down to his office and said, we're thinking of throwing the politicians off the Metrolinx. I said, the best decision to be made. We're going to go nowhere while politicians sit on Metrolinx. So they decided to move with an independent Metrolinx. Now, we've been studying the congestion in the GTA for 12 years. Think about it. And what action has taken place? Very, very little. So Metrolinx was given the responsibility to come up with a capital plan. And it's gone through an enormous amount of input. Consultants and corporations and citizens, etc. And finally, they came forward with a plan, the big move. They went ahead with the first portion of it, and has funded it. 17 billion was the amount of money that the province allocated to it, etc. And so some of the projects have gotten underway. A second big move is coming. And our LRT in Mississauga and Brampton is involved in that second move. No question about it. That is the input from the city and the input from the city of Brampton, etc. So we're on our way. At the large urban mayors on Friday, I got to tell you, something happened that if anybody had asked me as chair of the large urban mayors that it would happen, I would have said, with some disapproval by those outside the GTA. And when you think that we passed a resolution at the large urban mayors on Friday that included the mayor of Kitchener, Waterloo, the mayor of Barrie, the mayor of London, and the mayor of Kingston, that said and voted for that resolution, that we get on with the big move that the Metrolinx has been on, and that we must look at other revenue tools in order to make it happen. And that the property tax and the transit revenue should not be touched. Can you imagine? They voted for it because they said if we don't solve the problem in the GTA, we're all affected right across the province because it has provincial impact. Seriously. No plan is perfect, folks. But my staff and my council, a lot of my councillors have looked at the plan. It's the best plan that we know of to get action. Because quite honestly, folks, I tell you, people are fed up with talk, talk, talk. They want action. If we really want action, then let's get on with it. And if anybody, and I have talked to Toronto, if they know where there's a source of revenue that can do it without a revenue tool, produce it and let me know. They say efficiencies at the province would do it. They would have to close down the province. Not efficiencies, close it down and turn the money over for the needs. Not only in the GTA, but throughout the province. Because Ottawa has gridlock. Ottawa has gridlock. We're not the only area that has gridlock. And the people, I've talked to the Premier about it, and she says that she travels around the province and talking about the revenue tools that may be given, that may be implemented in the GTA, that other areas in the province are saying, well, we'd like to look at that in our area as well. So you can see that the support for this is pretty well province-wide when you think of the support we got at the large urban mayors on Friday. Folks, it's time for action. You can criticize, you can be critical of any plan, but by Jove, the citizens out there want to see something happen. We've got the plan, let's get on with it. We need the money, and it's not going to impact, because Bob Richard met with the Western GTA mayors last week at the Living Arts Center, and unfortunately Mayor Fennell wasn't there, but the Mayor of Oakville was there, the Mayor of Hamilton, the Mayor of Burlington, the Mayor of Milton. And he told us that because of our opposition, that the property tax was included in the revenue tools and the transit revenue, that it will be eliminated when they make their presentation to the province. So folks, I'm saying to you, it's time we got on with it. And let's support it as the large urban mayors did, even though it doesn't affect them. Yes, as they said, it does affect them. If there is no action in the GTA, it will seriously affect them. So folks, that's my message to you. My council supports it 100%. Yes, they haven't decided what tools they will support because we're awaiting the Metrolinx report with all the facts and figures as to what the different tools will do and what amount of money will be raised by those different tools. When that comes forward, then my council will deal with which ones they prefer, etc., and get the message across to the province. But I say to you, in action, when I think I sat on 3 task forces over the last 20 years to deal with a link to the airport, 20 years, 3 task forces that I sat on, and finally it's happening after 20 years. Folks, are we going to let inaction cause every day, every hour of every day, that gridlock is increasing in the GTA? affecting the lives of our people, health-wise and every other wise. My, let's make a decision at long last.
Your support for the Western GTA Summit, the Mississauga Summit, and your leadership on this file has been fantastic. I'd now like to introduce Mayor Susan Fennell from Brampton. When we came and asked her to support this, I couldn't have asked for more support. So, Mayor Fennell, thank you very much as well.
Thank you very much. Well, good morning, everyone, and thank you for being here. Pardon my voice, I have a little bit of a flu, but I wouldn't miss this important announcement this morning, and it gives me great pleasure to be here with the chairman of the Region of Peel and my companion mayors. I think it's, I also want to recognize Peter Van Sickle, who's the president of our Downtown Development Corporation. He's helping to organize this first ever Western GTA Summit, and he's a man of action in downtown Brampton. And as you know, the Big Move Metrolinx plan envisions an LRT line connecting Port Credit GO Station to downtown Brampton GO Station. I want to say that that particular alignment has been approved by Brampton Council as an alignment to study, and I want to also be very clear that within the context of the Metrolinx report, we're very pleased that when we met with Metrolinx, we expressed our concern about north of Steeles because it's a heritage district, and it's identified in the public Metrolinx report as an area for further study of how to get the alignment from Port Credit GO to downtown Brampton GO. Also, we participated with Metrolinx at several meetings over a year ago, and all reports have been to council and approved by all of council unanimously. We said there's also a need to connect the traveling public on transit across the 905 regions. In fact, we said in our submission that the Queen Street corridor connecting the 905 across the top of Toronto is as necessary as the north-south line that's proposed. Metrolinx responded. You can see in their report they've included that submission for a phase 2, if you will, on the Big Move, that there is merit in connecting parallel to the 407 across from Halton to Durham region. So that is also part of the Big Move plan that Brampton Council has considered. What I want to say as well, that people are, I concur with Mayor McCallion 100%. People are fed up with gridlock. They're fed up with plans. They want us to stop talking and start doing. Stop talking, start doing. Make a solution. So, you know, we have supported the Big Move plan because it connects downtown Port Credit with the GO Station in downtown Brampton. At the time, we were promised the GO would be all-day GO by the time this would be built. Recently, we've been advised that the GO plan, all-day to Brampton, has been deferred 6, 7, 8 years again. So I want to say that as a suggestion in the interim, not as an alternative, just an idea. We recently were successful with Bus Rapid Transit, which has been Brampton and Mississauga's efforts to deal with gridlock, tackle gridlock in recent years. We've both put in Bus Rapid Transit systems, My Way and Zoom. And in recent negotiations, the Brampton Transit can go now into Mississauga to square one. So I want to be clear that we said it's an idea. And you know, I'm proud that we can have ideas, but it's not to compromise the LRT or the Big Move plan, which was reported in the Toronto Star. I don't know where they got that story, because it certainly was never said. It's an idea that if the bus already goes to square one, people aren't going shopping, they're trying to get to work, and if we can find a way, it's worth consideration with our two transits amongst ourselves to allow that bus to go all the way to the GO, Port Credit GO, we get all-day GO as soon as we can, has no impact on the progress of the Big Move or the LRT plan. Certainly, it would create an increase in ridership that would mimic the proposed route, so when it's funded, it could then move on to the LRT line. Isn't that what we're trying to achieve? The city of Brampton, the third largest city in the GTA, does not yet have all-day GO service. It's stressful for people. I've been to the GO station. I've seen people when they have gridlock on the road and they can't get to the last GO train and there are no more. And then how do you get home if you get called with an ill child and you can't get home because there's no train till the end of the day? So we're all looking for solutions to help people, but fundamentally, if we don't tackle gridlock in the GTA, we're compromising employment, jobs, and the success of the Greater Toronto Area. And I have said since day one, it's part of my press release that went out yesterday, but let me be very clear, and I've said this for years. A strong GTA is good for Ontario, and it's good for Canada. The GTA is one economic basin. We support the activities of building the economy in the Greater Toronto Area, of which we're all a part. And I want to be very clear, when the mayors met at Lumco on Friday, and you know Lumco coincides with Peel Police Services Board meeting chair, but for the last couple of meetings it's been on a different date. And we all work together, and we're all on the same page. And Mayor McCallion was quite correct when she talked about the mayor of Kitchener, and the mayor of Barrie, and the mayor of Kingston. And all of us together came together and said, gridlock tackling has to be the priority of this provincial government. It's time to stop talking and start doing. We took a resolution and we said together, this has got to be a priority. We said together, we need to dedicate funding to getting it done. We said together, it ought not to be on the property tax bill, and we said together, it ought not to impact transit fees, transit fares in our jurisdictions. That's what we said together. We did not choose specific tools that day because many of us have not had this matter before our council, which I raised at the council meeting. Brampton Council is dealing with this issue in the next week or two with a full analyzed report from Brampton staff on what our proposals would be. So that motion that was taken to Lumco was unanimously voted on by all mayors who were there, because we talked about getting it done, prioritizing some funds to it. We may disagree on how that should be funded, but let's get it done, and let's not have an excuse that, well, this one wasn't chosen or that was the Premier's job. And it's the Minister of Transportation's job to find the solution for this. We are all faced with making choices in government. We were faced with this, the Region Appeal. We're faced with this, the City of Brampton, and all municipalities. We have choices to make. I say choose tackling gridlock. It's time. It's time. And we have to get this done. During my recent State of the City address, I reiterated the importance of tackling gridlock and involving citizens. I want to compliment the Western GTA Summit for including Brampton and area municipalities, because we're all in this together. The GTA economy depends on us working together. And I commit to you, we will continue to work together, and we are not working apart. You know, in February, City Council heard from local residents. When you involve the citizens, I believed in two-way communication since 1988, and when you involve the citizens, you help find solutions. This is an opportunity for citizens to participate. I don't believe that thought leaders are restricted to those elected people at City Hall. Listen to your residents. People have extraordinary ideas. This is an opportunity for local leaders to be heard. Together, we want to find solutions to help break gridlock and support the local economy, support the GTA, support Ontario. All of that support builds a stronger Canada from coast to coast to coast. So I look forward to the exchange of ideas. We'll soon be going out through 5 town hall meetings. The dates are just being announced for the strategic plan in Brampton. What kind of Brampton do the citizens want as we build out over the next 20 years with our rate of growth? Citizen engagement helps steer. You know, Brian, when you talked about the input you've had in Mississauga about what type of parks do you need, we talk about that in strategic planning. We talk about the changing diversity. We talk about the new sports facilities that you need for today's population. We talk about shade shelters being needed more than ever before in the parks, where years ago they weren't required. People used to look at parks and say, there aren't people in the parks today. People are interested in fitness and health people meet in parks and they need these different amenities. Listening to your residents, you'll get it right. So I look forward to this summit. I'm pleased to be part of it. I thank Peter and the other mayors, and I encourage and will be encouraging Brampton thought leaders and Brampton citizens to participate in this summit. We have to work together, folks. We have to stop talking. We have to start doing. It's time to solve the problem. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mayor Fennell. I'd now like to introduce the Mayor of the town of Caledon, Mayor Marilyn Morrison.
Thank you very much, Brian. I'm really pleased to be here. Actually, I'm very pleased to be included, that my municipality was included. Sometimes we're forgotten because we're the rural area of the Region of Peel. But I'm thrilled that it was suggested that Caledon be part of it. I've gone on record as saying that gridlock is a problem. And people will probably look at Caledon and say, you know, you have this huge area of open space, how could gridlock be a problem? Well, I'll tell you, I think there has to be some provincial policy changes so that we can have more employment in our municipalities, so that people aren't driving out of our municipality. People would love to live and work in the municipality. So when I look at the three pillars that are before us for the conference, or the symposium, move, live, and thrive, I look at live. And it says, do we need to change the way in which we live and design our communities? I can tell you from our perspective in Caledon, we do. We need to look at new ways of engaging people so that they can live and work in our community and they're not jumping in a car and driving out. Is that going to solve all the problems in the big move and within the GTHA? No, that isn't. But it certainly could help in the future, because if we don't look at new ways of designing our communities and integrating our communities, we're in trouble. We really are. And if you look at the province of Ontario and in their places to grow, the direction that they're going, they're adding probably another 1 million people to the Region of Peel. And that is huge. I'm not sure that's the direction the Region of Peel should go in. I think that we have to solve some of the problems that are before us. And I will tell you, Mayor McCallion and I have had some discussions on how much growth Caledon should take, and the fact that the expansions at the lake can only go so far before they can't take anymore. And my thinking is leaning towards that also, that we need to solve these problems. But I will tell you, when we solve these problems, we need to be fair to all. So my municipality is going to be dealing with this on Tuesday at our council. The Greater Toronto Countryside Mayors Alliance, which I'm chair of, is having its meeting tomorrow, and that's 14 mayors from Milton to Clarington. And we need to be fair to all of these near-urban municipalities that sit in the Greater Toronto area. And we need to make sure that whatever is put in place will not impede or harm their economy. And what I'm thinking of is the gas tax and the sales tax. If we look at only implementing that in the Greater Toronto Hamilton area, I can tell you that it will have a huge negative economic impact on the municipalities in the Greater Toronto area because of the leapfrogging that takes place and because of the ability of people within these municipalities to purchase outside of the municipality, which will hurt our economic base of our municipalities. So when we're doing this, I would really ask all of the big mayors, and I don't mean if they're big, I mean large. I'm not going to be able to sit down again. What I mean is the large urban mayors to really consider the Greater Toronto Countryside areas that actually are the lungs of the Greater Toronto Area and provide that tourism, that opportunity for people to get out into the Greenbelt, the Oak Ridges Moraine and the Niagara Escarpment, and enjoy the fresh air and everything that those areas have to offer. But we all need to be part of the solution, and I've said this all along, we have to be part of the solution to the gridlock, because it affects all of us, it affects Toronto, it affects all of our municipalities, and we all need to be there. I guess probably, I think everyone else has said about everything that there is to say, so I'm not going to say too much. I'll save it for the 21st. Thank you very much.
Hi there, I'm Peter Van Sickle with the Brampton Downtown Development Corporation, and it's my honor to thank everybody for coming here, and Mayors Morrison, McCallion, Fennell, and Regional Chair Cole. I'd like to thank them for making their time available to come and address or to launch the initiative. Brian has done a huge amount of work, and I'm honored to be co-chairing the conference with him. I hope you've seen the value and the need and the opportunity that the conference, the summit represents, and I'd ask all of you to trickle this down through your contacts, and let's see the 21st be a really well-attended and robust summit. Thank you very much.
We're now going to open up for questions. We only have about 10 minutes because, as Emma Cole, Chair Cole has reminded me, council starts promptly at 9:30 upstairs. If you have a question, maybe you could indicate it to me. I'll acknowledge you. We have a handheld mic that will come around. If you could say who you are and from what media outlet or organization you're from, I'd appreciate it. And then the mayors and Chair Cole will answer from the table. So, do we have any questions for the...
Just to start off with, maybe, Brian, I think it was a great suggestion that we invite the Milton, the other mayors from around within Halton region to come and join us. So maybe we could do that.
We've already invited the mayor of Burlington,
Okay.
but I will reach out to the mayor of Milton as well.
What about Halton Hills?
We will reach out to them as well.
Okay.
We have not done yet.
Thank you.
Any question? Over here.
I'm Neil Armstrong from the Leader newspaper. I wanted Mayor Morrison to just expand a bit on what she meant by the provincial government having plans to add another 1 million people to the region of Peel.
Is this on? It is?
Yep.
Okay. If you look at places to grow and what they brought down in the places to grow in the areas that they said are for future growth when they put the Greenbelt in place, for my municipality they put 28,000 acres, which is really an enormous amount of land. And so if you look at 28,000 acres and you take the densities that a municipality has to have that are sitting in the places to grow, that's anywhere from 500,000 to 750,000 people. You know that the new numbers that have just come down of 330,000 for the region of Peel takes us to 1.97 million, as we'll say 2 million, with an undercount and everything else. And so you look at the potential for what can happen, and with the intensification within communities that we're going to have, it's almost another 1 million people. So where does it stop? And that's my question. Where does it really stop? If we're looking at our environment and how much it can take and the stress, and if we're looking at where we're going to go in the future and the airshed quality and all of that, I think maybe it's time the government of the province of Ontario had a broader look at the GTA, maybe the London area, maybe the Kingston area, and started saying we need other centres other than just the GTA.
There's one comment I'd like to make that I forgot to make, that Pritchard advised the mayors that were present. They are going to put something, a recommendation, to the province that the time has come that you must tie land use with transportation, which we have avoided, all municipalities, including Mississauga, avoided in the past. We've just allowed development to move ahead and had no idea how we were going to deal with transportation. I told Mr. Pritchard that there isn't a politician at Queen's Park or in the municipalities that would have the backbone to do it.
Oh, we'd be happy to.
Any other response?
I think a quick
Tie
answer.
land use with transportation.
I'm not arguing about what the two mayors have said, but I think it's very important for us to realize that development charges, when you put them together with the municipalities and the regions, are up to $60,000 to $70,000. And how can young people today afford to pay $60,000 or $70,000 before they ever get to buy the house or the piece of land? And I think we have to look at these things, and I think what the mayor has just said, until we start tying planning to financial affordability, we will just ruin this country and we will have nothing. We won't have any planning, we won't have any quality of life, we won't have the health issues that this region has been trying to create within the communities. It will be very difficult for United Way to come forward and try to support all of those people that need assistance that are coming to this country. My dad came 103 years ago with $1 in his pocket. How many people today still come with that $1 in the pocket? And look at that. My dad paid $135 for his first house that he bought out of the Eaton's catalog. Imagine what he'd have to pay for a house today. So I think that we are talking about serious things. And I think the way to do that is through this kind of process to make everybody aware. For business side, businesses can't operate in that kind of environment also. So I think it's important that we really, really participate to this summit on May the 21st.
Thank you. As Brampton is a growing city at this time, and a lion's share of the growth is now occurring in Brampton, I want to be very clear that in Brampton, we have a long-term transportation master plan that works alongside our designated growth targets. But let's be clear, the province of Ontario, as Mayor Morrison has said, has designated the city of Brampton, for example, as an urban growth center. We are required by the Planning Act and the designation to grow our population to about 800,000 people. We present a revised official plan through public process to the province, as is also the law. And then the province approves our official plan. Contained therein are the 400 series highways that we all have to agree are going to be built to be able to handle the increased population. We are still waiting for Highway 427 to have a resolution on the east side of Brampton. But the province approves the official plan with that expectation, but they need to stop talking and start doing. We approved the official plan that saw the growth of North Brampton with the expectation that 410 would be built. But the Region of Peel had to contribute property tax dollars to a 400 series highway. We're the only region in Ontario that had property tax into a 400 series highway, so of course the residents wouldn't be too pleased about paying for it and then being told to drive on it, not T-O-L-D, D-O-L-L-E-D. The province of Ontario is part of approving the next official plan, which shows an east-west Highway 413 across the north between Brampton and Caledon. There's also contemplated a new north-south highway up the west side of the city of Brampton. So there has to be a partnership. You can't just draw lines on a map and never fund the outcome. How long did we take for the 407? That was drawn on the map 30 years ago. And when it was built, it's a toll road. So the mayor said, I'm against toll roads because the people of Brampton said to me, it costs $100 a week to use the 407. We don't have a choice. It's the only east-west route we have. If you want to go from Brampton, if you work across the GTA or live vice versa, it's $100 a week. For you people that don't use the 407, you wonder, how much does that really cost? It's $400 a month. It's almost $5,000 a year. It's like a double property tax bill. Who would support a toll solution when people are already being asked to pay $100 a week to drive now? So we still have to have a discussion in Brampton about what council's response is going to officially be to the proposed methods for funding the big move. We all agreed and have talked about the big move being the right plan. But there's a lot of work to do on prioritizing at the provincial government to find the way to fund it. With the federal government, we talked about this at Lumco on Friday. Both governments have to be involved. Both governments have to be involved to get the right solution. Why in the province of Quebec do they have subways all over the place? It's not on the property tax bill. It's paid by the provincial government. And their property taxes are lower than ours. So there are solutions in other jurisdictions. We need to stop talking and they need to start doing. And these are important programs to get this plan right. And the plan is right. We've all endorsed the plan. We only were released the funding ideas, and that's what they are. They're for discussion. And Brampton Council will deal with that shortly. But I have to say, I was very clear when it comes to toll. My opinion may not be shared by my council. We'll find that out. But we already pay a toll road in Brampton. And I don't see tolls being the solution. Not what the city of Brampton people are telling me.
Mayor McCallion?
Yeah. It's too bad that the Conservative government sold for us. I didn't have all that money to invest in transit, because the companies that own it are laughing all the way to the bank. I just want to say that the large urban mayors, and I want to confirm what Mayor Fennell has said, the federal government has got to be at the table. There is no transportation strategy for this great country of Canada. There's no infrastructure strategy at the federal level. And the announcement in the last federal budget that they are allocating to infrastructure could all be spent in the GTA. And that's for the entire country. So the province can't do it alone. There's no question about it. And if the federal government returned to the province of Ontario the fair portion of what goes to Ottawa, instead of it going to the province of Quebec, the province of Quebec gets handouts from the federal government second to none. That's why they can do the financing. Federal government, I know it. And I've talked to Charest about it. I've talked to the province of Quebec. They're laughing all the way to the bank, the province of Quebec. And where does the money go from? It goes from the province of Ontario and Alberta, is the other province, and possibly a portion from BC. And the rest of the provinces all are benefiting from federal funding. The C.D. Howe Institute just came out with a statement saying that we are minus billions in the province of Ontario of our share of the revenue that goes to Ottawa through the province of Ontario. It's time it came back.
Given time, last question.
Yes. Mayor Fennell, the question is to you, followed to the other two mayors, Mayor Morrison and Mayor McCallion. You said the city staff has made a plan and you would implement it or start discussing on it. Do you ever get feedbacks from day-to-day people what the plan should be, or do you just make decisions like usual in the cold air-conditioned rooms of your city hall offices and never consult the people like it usually happens in Brampton? You and me very well know that. Thank you.
Thank you, Akbar. That's a pretty loaded question, but factually incorrect. In fact, last night was an official plan public meeting. Every time we redo our official plan, we have a series of meetings across the city. When we did our strategic plan, we have public engagement. The new strategic plan has public engagement. In fact, when we did our recent livable communities, Our Brampton, Our Future, were a series of several town hall meetings across the city. So every time we revisit the official plan, and every individual plan application has a series of public consultation. Not everybody is happy with the outcome of everyone, but everyone is certainly invited to participate, and we listen, and that's how we plan the city of Brampton with citizen engagement. So I will make sure that you specifically are made aware of every town hall, public meeting, official plan meeting, and I hope you're able to make it. Where you
Yes,
go on-
those decisions, those recommendations are never listened to. We
Well,
know
they
that.
are. Part of the whole
Thank you.
idea of the summit is to invite all people to participate in exactly that issue. Last question?
Yeah, Laurence Martin from CBC French Radio. It seems to me that you all agree that we should not raise property tax to fund this. Are there tools, financial tools that you all agree on to fund the big move, like one that you all agree on?
Well, Laurence, because we spoke earlier, maybe I could just say, and then Mayor McCallion will want to add, that we all just said, and we agree on, the federal government needs to be part of the solution. That needs to be part of the cooperative funding to solve transit and gridlock problems, not just in the GTA, in Ottawa, in Edmonton, in Calgary, in Vancouver, and it has been part of the solutions in Vancouver, in Alberta. So we need this dedicated funding focused on tackling gridlock in the GTA.
But what about
Mayor McCallion wants
money
to
that
say.
would come to the city?
What was your question on revenue tools?
I was just like, do you all agree on one solution to fund the big move? And
You know, usually the press tells us we don't do our homework. Well, I'll tell you, we're doing our homework, the city of Mississauga. And I'm sure Mayor Morrison and Mayor Fennell will do the same. Metrolinx has done a worldwide research on how transit funding has occurred throughout the world. They've done all that research. Have we done it? No. And that's not our job to do. And on June the 1st, they're going to release how transit funding has been implemented throughout the world, in Canada, and they're going to recommend what tools the provincial government should consider, because it's a recommendation. Secondly, backed up with the financial data that each and every tool will produce, which will clearly indicate that it could be more than one tool. It could be one tool that would do it, would provide the funding for the capital, 50 billion capital budget. Or it may recommend, let's wait for that when all the research is being done, instead of us, oh, sales tax would be great. Parking tax, oh, that's harmful. Let's wait for the information that has months have been spent on in deciding. Then the municipalities and the citizens have to decide, when they have all the facts, as to which ones they would prefer. That's the message on the revenue.
Well, one of our hopes for the Western GTA Summit is that the citizens will get information from panelists, Metrolinx, GTA, and city staff from each one of these municipalities. We'll discuss it and we'll provide feedback to each one of the honorary chairs that hopefully will influence their decision. So I hope their comment to you would be that they haven't decided already, that they're waiting for the citizens to have some input, because that's exactly what May 21st is designed to be, is an opportunity for all of you to come, to sit at the table, to be informed, to discuss amongst your fellow residents and business people within Mississauga, Brampton, Caledon, and Oakville, the Western GTA, and provide feedback to these mayors. But I think you can get a sense that we're going to have an absolutely fascinating panel on that day, and so I would all encourage you to come to the Western GTA Summit on May 21st. And do you, Mayor Fennell, want to say one last comment?
Yeah, just as a closing comment, it was talked about earlier, the long-awaited link to the airport. We've been on record supporting an airport link for 12 years. In fact, Brampton Transit has sent, it's not uncommon, you know, when I say, what about the idea of letting Zoom go a few kilometers further? We are on record, Brampton Transit and Mississauga Transit working together. My Way and Zoom Transit cover some of the same territory. Brampton Transit sends a direct bus to Wonderland, particularly to help students being employed at Wonderland. We send Brampton Transit direct to Pearson Airport. Those buses are full. We send Brampton Transit direct to York University. Those buses are full. So this is an idea that could help today. And that's what this is about, ideas. There are lots of ideas, and there's a big move, which is the grand scheme of how to finally get something very progressive for the Greater Toronto Area for years to come. Let's get Toronto moving.
Mayor Susan Fennell from Brampton, Mayor Hazel McCallion from Mississauga, and Mayor Marilyn Morrison from Caledon. Thank you very much for participating both today and as the honorary chairs of the Western GTA Summit on May 21st. And I'd like to thank Chairman Emil Cole for hosting our breakfast today and being such a great supporter of the summit over the years. Thank you all very much for coming today, and I look forward to seeing you at 1 o'clock on May 21st, the Tuesday after the long weekend at the Mississauga Convention Center for what I think will be a fascinating, potentially game-changing day in the history of decisions that are taking place in the Western GTA and all of GTA. Thank you very much for coming.